Hi everybody, and in this video what I want to do is just to introduce you to a website and take you through some of the preparation that you're going to be needing to do for your assessment at the end of our scatter plots and relations unit. So there's a website that we like to use in the math department called gapminder.org, and if you type it in you can see that you get to this really neat website. And the first thing that I want you to do is take about 10 or 15 minutes just to familiarize yourself with some of the issues that are facing the world. You need to remember that our school, Stephen Lewis Secondary School, is a UNESCO school. So we have a strong focus on international issues and some of the trends and potential problems that are facing us from all sorts of standpoints, many of them environmental. And this website, Gapminder, addresses a lot of the social and environmental issues that we face. So when you go to the site, the first thing you'll see this kind of menu of things, and there's a lot of different issues that are raised, as you can see here, right? Things that are important topics that we as global citizens need to be aware of. And one thing that I really would like you to do is when you go to the site, click on this thing here that says upgrade your worldview. And when you do this, you get to an option that asks you questions about things. So the one I like to go to is the one called UN goals. And you can actually see that there's a whole bunch of different UN goals. And these UN goals are related to what we call Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And if you click on one of them, what it will do is it'll ask you questions to see how knowledgeable you are about some of these Sustainable Development Goals. So if I just click on the first one here, just this general UN goals one, and UN stands for United Nations. And remember, we're a UNESCO school, which is to do with the United Nations again. What it'll do is it'll ask you a question and see how knowledgeable you are about some of these things. So if I hit take next question, the first question that comes up is how much of the world's economy comes from agriculture, forestry, and fishing? And you have to try and figure out what you think your answer is. I'm going to say that it's probably more than we think, and I'm going to say 44%, and I'm wrong. Look at that. It's 4%. 200 years wrong. Many people mistakenly believe that agriculture, forestry, and fishing make up more than a fifth of the global economy. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing haven't been a major part of the world economy since the Industrial Revolution. Poor countries today won't get rich from such exports. Wow. So there you go. I was completely wrong. And 84% of other people who took it were wrong, like me as well. Let's take another question. What share of countries in the world have laws against sexual harassment at work? Well, I'm going to say that they wouldn't be asking us this if it wasn't a problem. So I'm going to say that probably only 35%, because that means that's a real problem. And I'm wrong. Look at that, around 75%. Wow. Enforcing the law is a problem, or is the problem. Many people think laws against sexual harassment in the workplace are not widespread. In theory, gender equality is excellent in many countries with nice-looking laws, but in practice, the perpetrators are seldom brought to justice. 92% of people got that question wrong. So you can see, hopefully, that this is a great way to start to familiarize yourself with some issues that face the world. Okay, so it's a great way to start out. Now, you might be asking, well, how's this connected to relations? Well, watch this. If we go back to the main site that we started out on and we click on resources, what we see is a submenu is going to come up. And if we go down a little bit and we go to bubble charts, go to bubble chart, and what you're going to get suddenly is a really neat thing. You're going to get a chart that lists all of the major countries of the world, and it's going to have variables. So in this case, you can see a bubble chart comes up, and the y-axis variable is life expectancy, and the x-axis variable is income, like how much money people make, right? And So what you can do is you can look at this chart and say, all right, well, look at all these different countries. What country is this? Oh, that's India. Well, in India, the average income is $7,230 per person, and the average life expectancy is 69.5 years. What's this big country here? China. People make a little more in China and have a higher life expectancy. What's this country here? United States. I don't even know where Canada is. Maybe what's this country here? Saudi Arabia. Let's go way down here. What country is this? Central African Republic. See, what you see is a trend, and every single bubble represents a country. Singapore, way up there. What country is this? Qatar. 113,000. Look at the life expectancy. Wow. What's this small little country here? Brunei. I don't even know where Brunei is. I need to find that out. Okay, now, if we look at this chart, you can see that there's a positive correlation. Do you see that? If you drew a bubble around this, it's going up and to the right. So we could make a conclusion that as income goes up, people's life expectancy goes up. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, because I think what we could say is if people have higher income, then they have more money that they can spend on eating nutritious food, giving themselves proper protection in housing and from the environment, but also giving themselves proper medicine and healthcare when they get sick. So if you have a country where the income of people is greater, what this is telling us is it's telling us that people live longer. And what's neat about this is it's not somebody's opinion, right? It's not like I think that if people make more money, they'll live longer. This chart represents facts. These are just the facts. These are not made up, okay? These are statistics taken from United Nations that show this. Now watch this, it doesn't stop here. What I can do now is if I want to see what happens over time, take a look. I hit this play button at the bottom and it will show me what's happened for the last 200 years with these countries. Watch this. Now, some of these countries didn't even exist, so it's going to start adding countries as we go through. And you can see the year in the background, right? And you can see in the early years that life expectancy wasn't going up much, but as we got into the 1900s, there seemed to be more of a positive trend that related income to life expectancy. Now, if I want to, I can stop this at any year. I'm going to stop it at 1950, okay? You can see in 1950, there's a definite positive trend in the correlation. As income goes up, life expectancy goes up. As the independent variable income increases, life expectancy increases. If I hit play again, if I can keep going, you can see what's happening here. And you can see how different countries change. Look at China there, that big red circle. The size of the circle is dependent upon the population of the country. So the bigger the circle is, the bigger the population. Okay? So what we want to do for our project is I want you to find two different variables on your own that you can make a chart for. And just, you can play around with it and hit the play button and see how the chart's related. But what I want you to do is find two variables and pick a year and see how they're correlated. But you must find something with a trend. So how do we find those variables? Well, I can go down here and I can get a drop-down list. So look at this. I have all these potential categories here. So let's go under society and let's click like democracy. And let's click, oh, they don't seem to have anything for democracy, at least. Oh, there we go. Freedom from, let's go civil liberties. So so how free people are. Okay. And then it's going to change that. And then if you want, I can put life expectancy on the y-axis. If I go ahead and hit life expectancy, now this is an interesting one. This one doesn't demonstrate really any correlation, right? Because it's just a flat line. So no matter what, how much for civil liberties people have, life expectancy doesn't change. So maybe I need to change life expectancy to a different variable. Maybe I need to change it to something like, I don't know, how about, let's go ahead and change it to something like economic, how about something like, I don't know, working hours per week. Okay, let's see if this, produces anything. Now I hit play. And do I see any correlation? I can stop it at any year. And maybe here I see a slight positive correlation. But for the most part, I don't see really any correlation because it just remains flat, okay? So your job is to try and find two variables that produce either a positive or negative correlation. And they have to be your own, okay? And then once you've done that, you need to cut and paste it into a Jamboard, which I will give to you, and you need to use extrapolation and interpolation to make some predictions, okay? And but the thing is, it's your job to see if you can find variables that display either positive or negative correlation. This set of variables right here, I'd say wouldn't be good because it's really not demonstrating a positive or negative correlation. It's just kind of flat. In other words, no matter how much civil liberties increase, the working hours per week seem to be the same. So you got to pick and choose, right? War and peace, maybe I choose battle death. I mean, there's so many things you could choose, right? And see if there's any comparison between the two. And some of them, there's not going to be any data, but other ones there will be. My point is, you need to become familiar with this website as you're going to be using it to do your end of unit project, which is just, as I said, to analyze a couple of variables and see how you can come up with something that has a positive or negative trend. But your job will be to come up with something that has a trend that's positive or negative in it, okay? Correlation. It doesn't have to be a strong correlation. It can be, but it's also allowed to be a weak correlation. The main thing is to find something that you can make some predictions with. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. Please experiment with this site, and hopefully you'll begin to get familiar with testing it out and seeing how useful and amazing this website is.